welcome everyone to this week's community call. This is kind of a special one because last week we skipped over our regular community call here on Discord and we had a live stream instead, which I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. So today I have with me Ismail, my usual partner in crime and resident disappointer. I also have Evgeny crashing the call as usual from Nodes Guru. Always happy to see you. And I also have with me Simon, the other Simon from Nym. Because for those of you who don't know, I'm also Simon. So this is our little team. We're going to be talking to you for these, 30 to 45 to 60 minutes, depending on how well it is going. Welcome, everyone. It is lovely to see you. But before we're getting to the discussions about all sorts of things, let's go over the news, what happened over the past week with Nym. Ismail, I'll hand over to you.
So last week there was a roadmap update recording released. There was a live stream with both Sudo, aka Simon, and also Nym CEO Harry Halpin. Yes, thank you for sharing the link, Farnoosh.
So wait, actually, since I was there, maybe I should be taking this one, right?
Yeah, that might be better. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so this was our special community call, and we basically shared just not our actual roadmap. You know, a lot was in it from our roadmap for the upcoming few years, but it was more of a sneak peek into the roadmap. It was not too structured. It was just basically a talking head video of myself and our CEO Harry, who talked way more than I did, which was I think fine. And so a blog post about our actual roadmap will be released shortly. So just keep your eyes peeled for that. And I would like to highlight the fact that this whole project of creating an updated roadmap came from community feedback. So as a result of community feedback. So once again, like I always say during these calls, and I like to say also elsewhere, please make sure if you have any feedback for us of any kind, we're listening. So make sure to share that feedback, whether it's bug reports about our software. We have a whole bug reporting process here on Discord. You can fill out a form, which ends up as actual tickets for a dev team to solve on GitHub. And you also get updates about how it is progressing, thanks to our amazing Merv, who's also here with us in this call. And also, if you have any feedback regarding these calls or anything else when it comes to the project, just let us know, because this awesome update and also the even more awesome and more structured update that is coming out about our roadmap was all like sort of triggered by community feedback. So thanks for your continued feedback. Ismail, handing over to you.
Yes, thank you. So both Jaya and Chelsea Manning from Nym have attended an ETH Berlin fireside chat a while ago. So we promised you all a recording, and yes, finally the recording has been released. This chat was hosted by Evan McMullen. So definitely check it out after the call. And
Exactly.
Also, before I forget, you really need to check out the fireside chat, because we might be creating a quiz about this pretty soon. So definitely be on the lookout for that as well. No guarantees.
That sounds interesting. All right, I would definitely check this video out if I were you guys, but that's just me. All right, moving on to our next news item. Actually, this is a fun one. So Team Nym had its yearly meeting in Greece, which was absolutely amazing. So both Simons, including myself and the other Simon, actually maybe we should start referring to each other by Mr. something. You're gonna be Mr. Wicky, and I can be Sudo. How about that? So
I'm
both
fine with
Mr. How about that? Yeah.
Just call me Simon, and I'll call you Sudo. It's fine.
All right.
If I don't forget.
I just like to. I'm sort of making a show of getting hung up on this. Actually, it's not that difficult, because when I say Simon, obviously everybody understands that I'm not referring to myself in the third person.
Yeah.
I would hope. But anyways, so the team meeting was absolutely amazing. I can only speak for myself though, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So just for some context, I started working with Nym over half a year ago, and this was the actual first time when I met anybody from the team. So it was a very, very great experience. And I can confirm once again that I sort of already hinted at during these calls, especially the one with Jack, our head of people operation, that I can only speak highly of our team. I think we have a really, really top-notch team, not only professionally but also personally. We're packed with some amazing people, and I also got to meet the other Simon. So sir, how did it go for you? How did you feel?
Well, it was amazing. It was not my first team meeting, but it's always amazing. And it's so weird because you always got to meet new faces, and even though you have seen them sometimes through video calls, but when you meet them in real life, it's you feel like you know them. You always know them. It's so weird. So it's not like it's not like you meet
Exactly.
complete brand new people. You are already used to them. But
That's
it was still amazing.
that's a very good way of putting it, because I also felt like I knew. I work very closely together. I have worked for
Yeah.
months, very closely together with some people, but just seeing them face to face, the actual person and not the pixels, it's a very different experience,
It
even
is
more so than I
amazing.
expected. Yeah, yeah,
And the place, well, just everything was amazing. The place, the weather, amazing.
exactly. It was pretty bleak to come back to Amsterdam after
Yeah.
Greece.
Post team meeting depression.
Exactly. I had a huge amount of that, and I also arrived in my shorts and my t-shirt, at the Amsterdam airport, and it was like 8 degrees and,
Ouch.
and raining. Anyways, it was not too much fun. Moving on from the team meeting to a pretty awesome piece of news. So we've released our WebAssembly client, which, for those of you that don't know, it's a pretty important thing, actually, because until now the only way to integrate with the Mixnet was through SOX 5, which has its limitations. But in short, now actually by using WebAssembly, the Mixnet allows for much deeper and better integration with a much wider variety of things. So that's as far as my knowledge goes about this topic. Simon, is there anything you would want to add?
Yeah, it's basically some sort of different technology. When you're using SOX 5, you're just telling your app to talk to the SOX 5 thingy before actually going to the internet. And with the WebAssembly client, it's sort of integrated in the app and not just apart from the app. It's a way better integration, basically.
Exactly. So far, what the things, for example, that we were able to privacy enhance through Nym Connect, which is so far Telegram and the Electrum wallet and Keybase, the messaging app Keybase. The prerequisite for that was for those to support SOX 5. So what Nym Connect does is basically connecting those apps, or like routing your connection to those apps through the Mixnet. And now WebAssembly is a very different, like actually integrated approach to integration. So it will be pretty interesting to see the depth, like the upcoming integrations can go. Anyways, that's far beyond my depth, so I'm going to hand over to Ismail for the next news item.
Yes, up next, Jaya spoke at the launch of the Geneva Declaration on Targeted Surveillance and Human Rights. Soon after the event, Nym released a press release, which is being shared right now. I really recommend checking out the press release. It's full of information. Jaya was there. She participated in the session as an industry representative, which in turn effectively led Nym to be among the first actually signatories of the declaration itself.
Exactly. Now, one thing to add for those of you who don't know, Jaya is our CSO, our Chief Strategy Officer, who actually I had the pleasure of bringing on to one of these calls, just the most recent regular call, which was not my live stream with Harry, which I still owe the recording to you guys. So I'm going to be uploading that along with this one over the weekend. Over to you, Ismail.
Yes, so a few days ago on Wednesday, Alexis Roussel closed the Web3 Connect event in Geneva. He spoke on blockchain and internet surveillance. He had the last bit of the whole event. Not sure if there's a recording or anything on it, but if there is, then we'll also obviously share it with the community later on.
Exactly. These recordings can take some time to get. It's always a surprisingly difficult process, just like you saw with the fireside chat that Jaya and Chelsea attended on ETH Berlin. It took about almost 2 weeks to actually get the recording of it, but as soon as we do, we promise to share on with you guys. Now, on to a major announcement that I'm really excited about. So, for those of you that don't know and who are new here, all of these links to everything we're talking about are shared in the community call dedicated text channel, which is just above the stage that we're currently on. So, I urge you to take a look at the upcoming links that are going to be shared with you guys, because as many of you will remember me mentioning during previous community calls in kind of vague terms, I talked about an emerging alliance of projects in the space who share a vision of privacy for Web3 and also the internet more broadly. So, and you also may remember a series of Twitter spaces with Manta and Secret, which myself attended, and we discussed various issues related to privacy, mostly specifically related to the Web3 as well. And also, we had a special one about like shortly after Tornado Cash and the sanctions levied against it and their legal and general implications. So you may also remember a blog post that we shared recently, which explained that Web3 is the new frontline for privacy, and we also mapped a few projects in the space which contribute to that vision. So we have an infographic in that blog post. So after all that foreshadowing over multiple months, I think at this point, and also a lot of work behind the scenes, to say I'm excited to bring you this announcement would be a huge understatement. So, ladies and gentlemen, Nym, along with Manta and Aztec and Polygon and many other projects, is bringing you the Universal Privacy Alliance. So this is absolutely huge news. Our launch event will be featuring special guest Edward Snowden, just like our mainnet launch event, and it will be next Tuesday. A link to it will be shared in the dedicated text channel. You definitely don't want to miss this one. So the founding members of UPA, including Nym, of course, we spearheaded this whole alliance. We share a common vision of privacy, of course. So although we fit in the privacy tech stack of Web3 and more broadly the internet in very different ways, that vision unites us. And there's a lot of work to do on this front, including communication, advocacy, and legal support. And all of that stuff is incredibly important because privacy is threatened. Probably it's one of the most threatened human rights of all human rights, most broadly threatened human rights and most broadly abused human rights of all the human rights. So the members of UPA are joining forces to do that work together, advocacy, communication, and legal support. So more on that on the actual event. Please make sure to join it. It's going to be absolutely magnificent. Over to you, Ismail.
That's some amazing news, by the way. That's really awesome, really awesome. Finally, you were able to share this.
Exactly.
So for this
All right,
last,
just a quick note on that, guys. I've been working on this for I don't even know how long. It's been brewing in the background for quite some time, and all I was able to do is foreshadowing it. Just talking not about it, but sort of things related to it. So it's really exciting to finally see it actually happen, and I can't wait to see where it's actually taking us and all of those awesome projects that are joining forces with us to spread our message and also to achieve our goals. It's absolutely amazing to see coming to fruition. Sorry, Ismail, I hijacked the call again.
it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. You always speak with passion about the things you talk about, so that's a good thing. So up next, as always, every single community call, our friend Pizza J, who you might know as Pizza J, one of our community mods, prepared another set of POAPs. So the POAPs are proof of attendance protocol NFT assets. So please stick around until the end of the call to be able to claim your POAP for this week's community call. So there's no guarantees, but we might or may do some fun events in the near future. So please keep on collecting these. Please be part of the community calls every single time. Thank you and enjoy.
Ismail, just as an explainer, Ismail is basically foreshadowing, just like I did with UPA. Hopefully, I don't know. It's not something I'm aware of. Ismail will be responsible for everything, including and up to elevator music and everything else as well.
All right, that's a promise. Yeah, that's good. Okay, sounds good.
So, actually, that was all the news for today. So now we're just about to move on to our special guest. Actually, because one of the things that we do at Nym, of course, obviously, is building stuff, right? But there is science informing that work. Quite a bit, actually, because Nym is a very research-heavy project with a lot of academics and a lot of research going on. So under the direction of Anya Pietrowska, hopefully I pronounced that right, Nym's head of research, who actually will also be coming on to one of these calls hopefully very soon. My guest today is responsible for some of that research. So, Simon, welcome. Introduce
Hello.
yourself.
So, my name is Simon. I live in Switzerland. I'm 26, and basically, I'm working. I have graduated from EPFL, which is a very, very famous school in Switzerland, university, and I'm specialized in privacy, especially the mixednet part of our work. And I'm here in the company. I'm working on improving sender anonymity as long as as well as some traffic analysis, attack, and defenses.
Exactly. So that's all the stuff that we're going to be talking about today, basically, and all the follow-ups I may have for those. So, well, you've been with Nym for about a year now, which actually is how you ended up with a much cooler company email address than mine. Because for just some context, he has just Simon in his email address, and I had to like Simon and my surname at nimtech.net, which is really disappointing. I'll be forever.
Sorry.
I'll be forever mad at you for that, sir. But anyways, yeah, early bird gets the worm and whatnot.
Exactly.
So you've been researching sender anonymity and traffic analysis and fingerprinting. So let's explain this stuff in that order. So let's start with sender anonymity. What is sender anonymity?
So basically, sender anonymity goes into a wider definition of anonymity, because we as scientists like to define things. So anonymity is kind of a broad concept, so you want to break it down into smaller pieces. And the idea is always in the anonymity is that you can't be truly anonymous if you're alone. So it's always the idea of hiding amongst people. Like you can wear, like, if you want a black coat and a black hat, if you're alone on a square somewhere outside, everybody will be able to see you. But if there's like 100 people that are dressed just like you outside, yeah, like that smiley emoji smile, you won't be recognizable. And so the bigger the crowd, the bigger your anonymity.
Anonymity loves company, guys, as we like to say a lot.
Exactly, but that's entirely true. And then, so that's the general concept, and this group of people that are hiding with you, or that you are hiding in, is actually called like the anonymity set. And so the bigger your anonymity set, the better protected you are. And if we now break down this anonymity into smaller things, we can have what we call sender anonymity, and that's the you have sender anonymity when the receiver of a message, let's say that I'm sending a letter to Sudo, and he doesn't know who I am. So maybe, okay, I can sign the letter, but he doesn't know where I live. He doesn't know if I send him my my letter via the post. He does not know where I live, and so he can basically not answer. And so that's what we call sender anonymity. And you can have the opposite in the sense of receiver anonymity, where you do not, where the sender of a message does not know who is at the other end.
So basically, just finding the message itself will not give you any better chances of finding the sender than chance, right? That's the point of sender anonymity, right? I'm not really putting that well, but
not better. It can be better at chance, but you will still have like I told before, an anonymity set, like maybe let's say 10 people, and maybe you know that your that the sender of this message is in these 10 people, but you do not know which one is it exactly. That's the idea.
Yeah, makes sense.
Does that make sense to you?
Exactly. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
So knowing all that, my next question: what does sender anonymity have to do with the Nym network? And how do we as Nym, or like the Nym network or the Nym mixnet, achieve sender anonymity?
Yes. So So basically, at Nym we have what we call a mixed network, which is more broadly an anonymous communication system, like Tor, like in some really I'm stressing that some sense a VPN, which is the whole point is to provide strong sender anonymity. You want people to talk with each other, but without knowing where they are, where they live, etc., etc. And in our case, we have the structure of our mixnet, which is a client which is talking to a gateway. Then the message goes through those mix layers to another gateway and to the recipient. For the sake of simplicity, let's call the sender Alice and the receiver Bob. Like the cryptographers will know what I'm talking about. And so in that case, let's say in a perfect world, Alice sends a message, it goes to Bob, and Bob does not know where Alice is. Maybe she signed her message. Bob knows that Alice is speaking to him, but he does not know where she is. And that poses some problem if you want to have a real conversation, because how can Bob reply back? I mean, he does not know where Alice is. So that's where we can bring some interesting piece of code and technology and really complicated stuff, which is called a SERB, which is an acronym for Single Use Reply Block, which is basically, let's put it that way. It's like, yeah, thank you, Sudo. If Alice is sending a letter to Bob, she can just include a second envelope within the message. This envelope block, Sudo, not box, block.
Yeah, I'll edit that. Thanks. I was trying to pay attention to you and also write at the same time, which was a very difficult task.
You failed.
My male brain failed miserably at that task.
Yeah, you're still missing an L. Okay, so Alice is sending a letter to Bob, letter which is within an envelope, the Sphinx packet, and along this letter, she joins a another envelope with some cryptic stuff outside of that. And so when Bob gets this message, he can simply first read the message, take out the envelope. He cannot read the address. It's some cryptic gibberish. He puts his letter inside this envelope and just sends it back. And like, I want to say magically, but it's only math. It's gonna arrive to Alice.
So basically, Bob has a channel back to Alice, right? Given that Alice sent a message to Bob, in that message, there's a channel back to
yes,
to Alice.
There is not a channel, just or let's say a channel that can hold only one message. That's
an envelope is probably that was a good analogy here, right? So there's an envelope in the message, which is like how do you say it when you put the address on an envelope? Addressed, yeah.
Addressed, yeah.
Addressed to back to the sender, actually.
Yeah, but in a way that Bob cannot read the address. That's the most important part, because otherwise, I mean, just give him your address.
Well, my next question would have been about SERBs, but you thoroughly answered them. But go on if you wanted to say something else about SERBs. It's pretty interesting.
Because we're actually coming to my work, because it's like it's all nice and fancy with the SERBs, but what if let's take that to a real context. Alice wants to send a message to Bob, and Bob want to send two messages back. Because, I mean, we are in the text era. We write a lot of things for nothing. And so maybe you just want to send 2 messages back. How do? You only have 1 SERP. And so so that's the state of the network right now, where you can only send 1 SERP. And how we're solving this problem is by right now is by so how it works right now, and I'm working on to improve that, but I'm coming on that afterwards. How it works right now is that we decrease a bit the sender anonymity by just giving the gateway address of the sender. So Alice will give her gateway address to Bob, and so Bob can then craft packets to Alice's gateway. It does diminish your sender anonymity because right now you're limited to the people using your gateway, and that's a lot. This set is a lot smaller than than all of the Mixnet user. So what I'm working on is to make that Alice can actually send more than 1 SERP to Bob, and then Bob can use these multiple SERP to send them back, and if he doesn't have enough SERP, he'll just like use the last one and say, "Hey Alice, I need more SERP to send you some message," and then Alice can give Bob some more SERPs, basically. So it's basically an improvement on sender anonymity. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Maybe what we should explain a little bit is the idea of, or the solution of having a lot of people connecting to a gateway. How that solves, how that is sort of like this step in between actual communication between individual and individual for a bit of efficiency, while not jeopardizing overall privacy by too much.
So like, let's say like 20 person connecting to the same gateway.
Yeah, or more.
Well, then you have like a serval bandwidth problem, because you're basically all connecting on one machine, which can or cannot be compromised if it's only one machine. And you're 20 people on the same machine, so you won't have the same bandwidth as only 2 people on the same machine, for example.
Understood. That makes total sense.
So it is better in the sense of anonymity, but then you have a whole lot of other problem, basically. So you do want more than 1 people per gateway, maybe 2 or 3. Let's say, I would say 5 top, but then you would run into some bandwidth problem and single point of failure if you have at least attractiveness from an attacker perspective. If he sees one gateway with like 100 people on it, it's way more attractive than one that has 1 or 2 people on it. But yeah, so better in a sense, but a lot more problems.
But if there's only so if there's 1 person per gateway, then they are basically de-anonymized. Anyways, I can't say that. You know what I'm trying to say? De-anonymized by default, right? Because that's only 1 person on that gateway.
In what sense? Because you never leak your gateway address. Mm-hmm. You will never leak your gateway address once my work is done.
Oh yeah, I see. But then we're going to talk about GPAs a bit later, but let's consider a GPA, right? Observing the network, the entire network, seeing everyone. So then they see a gateway that is communicating with a large number of mixed nodes on layer 1, right?
Yep.
And this 1 person. Does that not like not de-anonymize? So just make it obvious.
No, I see what you mean. I see what you mean, but that's the there's cover traffic to counter that. Do you know what cover traffic is?
I do, but let's explain.
Yeah. So basically, it's just you have a really nice system that makes that every once in a while you have a little system that fires up in your Nym client, and he will first look into the buffer of real message to send some stuff, and if there is some stuff to send, he will send it and done, and wake up some time afterwards. And if there's nothing to send, he will send just a piece of random crap, what do we call a dummy packet that would just come back to you, go through the mixnet and come back to you. So that actually, like you said, an adversary looking at your link between yourself and the gateway, he will see that you are somehow connected to that gateway, but maybe you're just doing nothing and it's just covered traffic going through.
Which doesn't actually contain any communication or information. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that's one mechanism that is aimed at providing what we call unobservability, which is you have like a communication between Alice and Bob has unobservability with respect to an adversary. If this adversary cannot even tell if there is an actual communication between Alice and Bob, maybe it's just random stuff. Maybe there's an actual communication, but the adversary cannot know that.
And not to mention that even if you see Alice communicating with maybe the mixnet, even if you gain knowledge of that somehow, it's very hard to find out where Alice's packets are actually ending up. That's what the mixnet is about.
That's the whole point of a mixnet.
Exactly. All right, now we mentioned GPA, so let's move on to our next topic and also your other area of research, because from what I understand, the other two areas. So we talked about Sender anonymity, and then there are two more main areas of your research, and one is website fingerprinting, and the other is traffic analysis. And if I understand correctly, these are connected to each other. So the broader one of these two, if I understand correctly, is traffic analysis.
Yes,
what is
because
that?
So before me, just to be clear, website fingerprinting is a sort of traffic analysis attack. Traffic analysis is just the what you can do by only looking at the traffic, the patterns, like how many packets, how big they are. And it is so far we have talked about some sort of attack that you can run if you're part of the communication, in the case of Alice and Bob. And here we're going into a range of what we call passive attack, which is attack run by a third party, and that third party does not do anything except observing. He does not like disrupt anything. He does not drop packets on any link. He does not add packets. He does not modify them. He just observe. And in traffic analysis, we often talk about GPA and LPA, which stands for global passive adversaries and local passive adversary. So they are both passive. Like I said, they don't do anything. They just look at stuff. The first one is global in the sense that he can see every link on the network, like between you and the gateway, between the gateway and each mix node, everywhere. And
between any two devices on the internet, basically.
Exactly. It could be a nation state. It could be the NSA, maybe just a big actor. And that's an actor that we thought that they were not possible, like in the years 2010 and stuff. But then Snowden came with his revelations and showed that actually it's a lot more common than we thought.
Well, not only is it possible, but it is already happening on a massive scale.
Yeah, it is happening and way more easier than we thought it was.
Exactly.
And for example, Tor, which is also well known, does not protect against a global passive adversaries.
Let's unpack that. Why?
Well, first thing, it's not meant to. Like, they do not take into consideration the GPA into their threat model. So it's not like a failure from their part. It's just that they chose not to consider it because it's actually really complicated to hide yourself from such an adversary. And so it's not secure because of a kind of traffic analysis attack that we call traffic correlation. And basically, since you can see everywhere, just watch between your target and the first Tor node, the guard node, and then look after every exit node. And since they have a low latency system, which means they do not add latencies into their packets, you will basically, the patterns of packet that you will see between your target and your entry node, you will see somewhere at one exit node, you will see the same patterns of packet. Well, maybe not
like
exactly the same. Yeah,
same size with a given amount of latency, like going in on one end and
exactly.
coming out on the other
Like
end.
I see 10 packets, then there's a small gap, then 5 packets, and I see the same packets afterwards. It's just like you're watching a highway tunnel with all cars identical. You can still see like maybe you see 3 cars coming in together, then a small gap, and then 5 more cars. You will still see them even if they change color in the tunnel, or if they're all the same colors and size and everything. You will still see some sort of the same patterns after the tunnel, and that's what we call a correlation attack.
As a traffic analysis, just get back to that for a sec. Is that a synonym of a correlation attack?
No, traffic analysis is just the if I go back to my highway example, it's just what can I do by just looking at the highway? I'm just looking at the cars on the highway. What can I infer? What can I deduce? What can I derive?
I see.
It's really broad. And in the correlation, there's a part that you cannot see, and you try to tell which packets come into the parts from the packets that come into the part that you cannot see, where they are when they go out.
I understand.
Maybe you have like you have multiple directions that you can take in the highway, in the tunnel, and you want to tell which car is now where on the highway after the intersection. Is it does that make sense for you?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Now, also, I think we talked about GPAs enough, so those were kind of thoroughly explained. But like at any point, guys, just leave your comments or questions in the community call text channel if you have any, because this is some pretty complex stuff, as we understand.
It is complex, yeah.
Now, now that we have that explained, let's talk a bit about fingerprinting. How is that? So that's a subset of traffic analysis, right?
Yeah, it's another kind of traffic analysis attack, which can be run by a much smaller adversary, which is what we call the local passive adversary, which can basically only observe one link in the whole network, and usually it's the link between you and the system, like your gateway or your Tor node or whatever. And that is much more scary because it can be, for example, your internet service provider, and that's something they are.
You mean
they are already in the position of being able to do that? For example.
Wait, so you mean my connection between me and my internet service provider, or my internet service provider is doing that to me?
No, I mean your connection goes through your service provider.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, your service provider is between you and the internet, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So by observing that link between you and the internet, they can run such an attack. Yeah.
I understand.
If they want to.
That's pretty scary stuff.
It is scary because the adversary is much. We say weaker. It's maybe not the proper term, but the assumption on the adversary is much lower.
Yeah, because to be a GPA, not an LPA, for that you need to be the NSA with the funding of the U.S. government, right?
You have
but for this, all you need to do is basically stand between me and my service provider.
Exactly.
Which you don't need to be the NSA for.
Yeah, it's way more easier to come into that position. And so the website fingerprinting attack is a form of traffic analysis attack, and it's basically I'm trying to infer just by looking at the link between you and the internet, I'm trying to infer on which website you are, basically. Or in a broader sense, if you're going to a website that I want to censor, for example.
How do I do that? How do I determine just based on, okay, let's say my traffic is encrypted. Okay, I use a VPN, so
Yeah.
just a very simple end-to-end encryption, and
Yeah.
I let's say visit Facebook. How would someone just seeing my encrypted traffic between myself and my ISP understand which site I'm visiting?
Let's say that you can either be, it's a very, very simplistic example, but let's say that you can be visiting Facebook or your brother website, which is like an old website, only has text, really, really small. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
By just looking at the traffic, the amount of traffic that goes through the link, I will know on which website you're visiting, because if you're visiting Facebook, the volume of traffic is going to be way higher than if you're visiting your brother's website.
Yeah, because you're streaming video and images and all of that stuff, so not just plain text.
Yeah.
But that's pretty limited. So how far does this go? How far does fingerprinting go?
It is not, because when you throw some machine learning at it, it can go pretty far. Like the latest research in the Tor domain, because there has been a lot of research on that with Tor. With a crazy lot of websites, you can go to like 90+% accuracy.
So that's insane.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You can have two different settings. So what we call closed world and open world. And closed world is basically, I know that you are going to a website which is amongst a set of predetermined websites, let's say 1,000. And my goal is to determine precisely on which websites you go.
And basically, most internet traffic is to one of that, like between someone and one of those 1,000 sites anyway. So it's already like a really good, really scary good achievement from a local passive adversary.
Yeah.
So then, basically, what you're saying is that with fingerprinting and some machine learning, you can achieve 90% of a GPA. With 90% of what a GPA, a global passive adversary, is capable of, with a local passive adversary with much lower like resource requirements and like cost in general.
Not 90% of what a GPA can do, but it's just that 9 out of 10 times I'm guessing the website you're on right, and I have no information but the packets that are flowing between you and your ISP, and that's just crazy.
That's insane.
It seems that there's so little information, but actually there's like a whole lot of information, and that's just crazy.
Interesting. But then, okay, so besides which sites I'm visiting, it's not able to tell much more, right? It can't see who I'm communicating with, for example, on those sites, right?
Well, you can try to do. It's still I'd say it's still very much a scientific topic. I have no record of like this happening in real life, but my guess is that maybe you can push your granularity down a bit and try to fingerprint a page and not a whole website. So you can do a lot of stuff, but then if you just want to talk to someone, you will probably fall down into different attacks, which are probably like I'm just gonna look at your. If you're just like texting someone on a web page, you're still gonna have some packets that goes back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe with this pattern of back and forth, you can probably infer some things. Like, I don't know, maybe you're talking much more than the other person. Maybe you're talking much less. You still can do a lot of things. Maybe not with website fingerprinting, but with traffic analysis in general. Yeah.
So then, metadata-wise, the metadata that you can gather through traffic analysis and being a GPA is way more powerful still than what you can gather through fingerprinting as an LPA. Is that accurate?
Sorry, say again.
So the amount of metadata that you can gather about a person as a GPA, is still much more and much more comprehensive, I should say, than what you can do as an LPA through fingerprinting.
Yeah, of course. I mean, a GPA will always be more powerful than a local passive adversary because it's I mean, it's in the name. It's just you can see every link versus only one link. So everything the local passive adversary can do, a global passive adversary can do more.
Exactly, and
But-
you mentioned machine learning, right? And that's always a very central piece to this stuff because you can be a GPA and gather all that info, but when you start sifting through it with advanced machine learning algorithm, that's where things get really scary, really fast, right?
Yeah, and in that sense, in that case, like machine learning makes really a lot of sense because you are trying to figure out patterns in some features of your traffic, and that's basically what machine learning was made for, to find patterns in some weird data.
In some enormous data sets, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I have enormous data sets for this kind of attack.
Actually, just moving on, just based on this last thing that you said, to a bit more practical things. So we talked about the theory of all of these different attacks, and possible threats to privacy. So when it comes to researching these things in practice, like what does that actually look like for you? So what is your role? Like, how is your role making sure at Nym that our network is resilient against these attacks?
You mean only for the traffic analysis or for sender
For
anonymity as well? For both?
Yeah, I think we talked about the sender anonymity. So basically, I would assume that the I'm not sure how to put it, but these multi-use SERPs or
Yeah.
multiple SERPs in the same.
SERP, yeah.
Yeah, so probably that's your main area of focus when it comes to that. But what about? Oh, correct me if I'm wrong, though.
No, it's correct. I mean, I do both basically, but yeah.
And then what about traffic analysis and fingerprinting?
Yeah. So basically, it's a lot of data collection, which means we have a small testnet that we use only for that. So we're just using the SOX5 proxy to visit a whole lot of different websites, and a lot. Like it takes days to weeks to capture everything, and then you just basically you record everything you see. You record, you get a trace for each website visit, which is just a list of 3 things, which is timestamp. So the start of your conversation is 0, and then you have the offset just at what time you see a particular packet, the direction of the packet, and the size of the packet. And you make a huge list of packets like that for each website. And so then you have like we have close to 700 web pages with 50 visits each time. So that's a lot of visits. And basically, in the machine learning, you want to split your data set into a training set and a test set. So we keep around 40 traces overall for each web page. 30 of them will go into the training data set, and the 10 left will be in the test set. And so you have split your data sets, and now you run something to extract features, basically characteristic, like the number of packets
From the rest of it, right? You have the 30, that you use to train machine learning to do work on the remaining 10, where you try to.
No, you do the features you extract on everything. Every trace you will run this feature extractor, and you will get like we have 175 features, and so you will have like a list of 175 numbers that characterize your trace instead of having the list of packets. It's just it still shows the same website visit, but in a different way. Does that make sense to you?
Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah. So remember this this list of packets that you had for one website visit?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm the feature extractor. I'm going to take this list and just process it. So I'm just going to count the number of packets that there is. Okay, there is 42 packets. Then how many are outgoing packets? There is 20 outgoing packets. So I note all of these derived numbers somewhere, and then like the time between the packet, the maximum time, where is the at what timestamp is the maximum gap between two packets. And so you're going to do that for your trace, and then you have like this list of what we call features that you have derived from this trace. Is it a little bit more clear to you?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
So you have this list of feature, and you will use that list of feature for your machine learning. So now you have, instead of having a lot of traces, you have a lot of features, and you take your training set features, you feed them into your machine learning. It can be a neural network, it can be a random forest, it can be something much simpler.
Random forest? What does that mean?
Oh, it's basically a can you picture yourself a decision tree?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a lot of decision trees, basically, that you make sort of random, and if you have like a lot of them, eventually they will come to the right decision. And then of course you do tweak them to make good decision, but overall it will work. I'm not going to go too much in details because it's kind of boring, but it's basically a lot of decision trees that forms a forest. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's why it's a forest. It's a nice name.
So you use your training sets to tweak this forest, to tweak your algorithm, and then you have your test set, and basically you're gonna just throw your test sample at your algorithm. You know the results, you know from which websites it come, but you're gonna see what website does your algorithm tell, and if the algorithm tells it's the correct website, well, it's a hit, and you count that as a hit somewhere, and then you just record everything, and then at the end you have like a list of hit and misses, and you can calculate the accuracy of the attack. So that's technically how it works. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. It's a bit tricky at this point to grasp everything that you're saying.
I know.
But
I'm
hopefully I'm the stupidest person on the call, and all of our dear community members are following you very closely.
Yeah, but do ask questions if something is not clear. I'm here for
it's
that.
It's one of those things that is hard to ask questions about. Do you know the feeling when you will ask a question to clarify, but it's hard to know what to ask exactly.
It's hard to put your finger on exactly what's going wrong.
Exactly.
But if I'm just going to make some advertisement here. If you are more interested, if you want to see more about this traffic analysis, there is a talk on YouTube that I gave in Geneva at a security conference. If you want to,
definitely. Can we drop a link to that in the text channel, the community called text channel?
I can try to find. Yeah, I have it.
I'm also being a bit selfish here because I myself haven't. Oh, nice, cool.
It's all right, yeah. So this is exclusively on the website fingerprinting attack, as well as a bit on how the network works, and the attack in comparison to the attack on Tor. So I
That's
highly
awesome.
encourage you to go see that, because it's a bit more advanced than what I explained here, but it's well explained.
But at least I won't feel this stupid after listening to it. So
yeah, it's still. I mean, it's still very, very complicated stuff. So yeah.
You know how to sell things. Maybe you should be a salesman.
No, sorry, not gonna do that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, with reaching my intellectual capacity, like the actual the actual borders of it, courtesy of Simon here. I don't see any community questions. So, ladies and gents, if you have any questions for Simon or myself, if you are able to formulate a sentence with a question about everything that was said, then make sure to ask it now. Or actually, Evgeny, if you have any questions, also let me know, or let Simon know, rather.
Yeah, I'll drop one for Simon.
Yeah, go ahead.
How much, like, the current state of the mixnet, the amount of traffic we have, helps researchers, and you personally do any analysis or try to attack it to de-anonymize users, maybe? Like, how things going with users, with them using Nym Connect, correlate with your work, if any?
The thing is with traffic analysis attack, and it's maybe like one of the negative sides of them for me, is that they work really well in controlled environments. So like I said, I'm using a small test network. So I'm not running any attacks on you guys that are using Nym Connect, just so it's clear.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so I have no record of an actual website fingerprinting attack being run in the real world. So yeah, so people using sorry about that, but people using Nym Connect does not impact my work, since I'm using a separate test network. Does that answer your question?
And are there like any plans in the future to actually analyze what we have in the real scenario, in the real network, rather than some test environment or prepared data sets?
I don't know. If there will be any, you will definitely be aware, because like we just don't want to run attacks on real people. And if we are using the mainnet, we'll probably like only observe our own traffic, and so I don't think there will be any large scale attack run by the research team. But yeah.
Well, that's good to know. We are safe to use Nym Mixnet.
Oh wait, I connected from a different device. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me well.
Yeah.
Wait. Sorry, I connected from my laptop, which is in front of me. I don't know why I did that. Anyways, now you can hear me, right?
Yeah. If you have, if you don't know, I'm also gonna make a piece of advertisement here. If you have no questions right now because it's too complicated stuff, but if you have them later, you can just ping me at my email address. I'll make sure to read it and answer it.
You're asking people to slide into your DMs, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's something that I really like to do, to explain things to people. It's really cool.
And you're awesome at it, actually. I did learn a lot today. I never knew about LPAs, for example, and I never knew that what we can pull off with just observing, a single link between one person and their ISP or something one layer up the network. So it was super interesting and eye-opening to me.
And that's
ladies and gents. Go ahead.
Well, I think that's this sort of attack. You can run it on Tor, It works really well, and that's something that Tor should protect you against.
So you mean fingerprinting? So Tor is
Yeah.
good at. Oh, I understand.
they are not that good at defending you against it, but they should do it because the local passive adversary is definitely in their threat model.
Well, I mean, just to clarify, guys, I've said this before, but I'm saying it again. We at Nym really look up to Tor. You know, we're in many ways standing on the shoulders of Tor. They are the OGs of what we're also doing. Of course, we are a newer version of what they are doing, but there's no adversarial relationship between us.
No, it's a different technology for different use, but very close, very closely related. Let's put it that way.
Yes. All right. I think I'm gonna have to let you go unless we have some community questions, but I don't see any. So it was really awesome to talk to you once again.
Thank you for having me.
I personally learned a lot, and hopefully everybody else on the call learned a lot as well. I'm going to say my usual piece, and I'm going to hand over to Ismail then. So massive thanks to everybody for joining this call. It was recorded, and the recording will be uploaded to YouTube, to the usual community call channel, this time for real, I promise, pinky promise, unlike the elevator music by Ismail. So as always, don't laugh, just stay silent. So unlike Ismail, I'm going to be uploading the call for real, pinky promise. And if you have any questions, suggestions about the call itself, the topics, the guests, or anything in between, then make sure to let me know, whether it's through a DM or publicly. I don't mind. We're always listening to your feedback. Massive thanks everybody for joining, and Ismail will stay on to explain to you the very easy process of claiming your POAP for this prestigious event that you've witnessed. Have a lovely weekend, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Simon, for this interesting talk and perspective on the traffic analysis.
You're
I definitely learned.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yes, thank you so much. So for everyone here, thank you to you, all of you as well. We can't do this without you, so really thank you all for being here every single time. So in order to claim your POAP, please head on over to the Claim Attendance NFT channel. It's listed below the community call channel. In order to claim your POAP, you simply need to enter a / command. So /claim basically. There's also a tutorial pinned to the top of the channel. Just scroll up a tiny bit and you'll be able to see it. So I'll be sharing the link to the Claim Attendance NFT channel right now. So please head on over to the channel in order to claim your POAP. Thank you for being here today, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.